when the two of you started out professionally, did you ever imagine that you would do the projects that you've done at the scale that you've done and the type of organization that you've built? Was that a conscious call or decision of getting to the scale, or what did it just kind of naturally happen?
I'll tell you, I think we architects are not business people,
Right,
unfortunately. I think to run a good successful organization, I think we need to be able to do a MBA to
or
be
hire an
efficient,
MBA.
or hire
right,
an MBA, which neither of us can. We can afford that, and we don't have the time to do an MBA.
right,
So I think there is a sort of a dichotomy between being an architectural professional and running a practice.
right,
So this is a very, very tough question and a tough job.
right.
No, but I think you digressed a bit. I think to answer your question, did we have a plan? The answer would be no. Part of the reason is what Sonali said. I think uh, we uh, we sort of took it one step at a time. You don't. I think the first few jobs you get are either through acquaintances or somebody's willing to have their project designed by somebody who's relatively inexperienced.
Right.
So you get your first few jobs that way, and I think we were lucky we got this thing. But then after that, I think it's the work that you've done, even if it's a small project, it's the work that you've done which starts getting you the future projects. So so I think we took it a step at a time.
Think there's a case for in a little bit of business management being taught at the architectural schools, or a specific MBA for architects in
No,
that
I no,
sense?
I see. I think some amount of business sense is important, but I think when you start looking at firms like this, I think you need to hire the right people. And I think you really need to have somebody with that knowledge, who's not necessarily an architect, doing that for you. Because I mean, I think everything has just become so specialized today that, again, having an architect who has done a course somewhere may not be
No,
enough,
but
really.
at least gets the mind
No, it
thinking,
gets the mind
and
thing. But
yeah,
so you do that. I think, and again, some people, even if you don't do a course, if you have acumen towards absorbing some of that, you can do it. Like I was joking with a client of mine recently that I have become half a lawyer in your project, because the amount of we get these sort of legal sounding letters and we've got to respond to them legally, and I was using a law firm to draft these letters for me
right.
initially, but then I found that after the first three or four, I could do a fairly good job myself. So I mean, one project has turned me into a bit of a lawyer also, which I'm fine with, because I think it's just another skill that you learn. But I think if we were a firm of 300 people, I couldn't be doing that. I would need
Yeah,
a law department in the office to
Or
really
at least one lawyer.
in the
yeah,
office
yeah.
to do that. So I think it's so I don't know how much doing a course, but definitely I think the business angle of the profession, I think, needs to be definitely a course that students should go through.
But I think there is a dichotomy between a creative process and a business process. I think they're two different sides of the
Yeah.
brain.
They are very different sides of the
And
brain.
honestly, as Surab is saying, maybe hiring a right person or partnering with a person who has that mindset may be better than trying to convert yourself into a bit of both.
Like what happens at our firm, Sonali, as she admitted herself, doesn't understand numbers at all.
Right.
So anything to do with accounts, anything to do with, as I said, if it's a slightly legal issue, does come to
Comes to
me,
your table.
to,
Right.
to, to my table. I, on the other hand, really don't understand anything about interior design, and because I think interior design is not something that can really strictly be taught to you. So I think an architect is architecture is the right skill to have, even for an interior designer, because you need to understand space and space planning. But I think the flair to be able to really do good interior design has to be sort of within you. And I think Sonali is a great example of that. So she's did exactly the same course that I did. Okay.
Right.
But she can do this and I can't do it, you know. So in that sense, I think in a firm our size, you know, if you're 60, 70, 100 people, it would be good if the partners or the senior people had different skills and take on these responsibilities without actually having to hire full-time professionals to do that. And I think so. At least that's the way it's working at our office, and I think it's working fairly well. And as I said, when you get into a very sticky problem, you definitely have to outsource that to a
Yeah, we
professional.
should